Yeah, so today we will be discussing on these topics. So first thing is we are going to discuss about the data-driven options in Cucumber, which is available for the scenario outline. Then we will discuss about tagging concept, which can help us basically execute particular feature or scenario uh, whenever we are running our test instead of running all the tests. And then we are going to discuss about data table concept without header and with header. Then we are going to discuss about Cucumber lambda expressions, Cucumber hooks, why they are required. Then how do we share the state between uh, two scenarios? No, it is between yeah, I'll call it as between step definitions. And then how do we capture screenshots for every step and attach it to the report? This is kind of a requirement that usually will be there. And then how we can use TestNG with Cucumber. So let's start with Cucumber data-driven options for the scenario outline. Basically, scenario outline is one more keyword which we can use in our feature files. Okay, so I think I fixed it, right? So to confirm, I fixed, because earlier I removed glue option just to show that it is very much required to be passed. So I'll just run once to confirm that it is passing. Okay, and in the meantime, yeah, I think it's fine now. It's running. Okay, so let's go to the features. Okay, and when you see this kind of definition, you can see that features are defined under SRC test resources, and step definitions and tests are present under SRC test Java, and the page level objects and utilities are present under SRC main Java. Okay, so this is one of the uh, practice that is followed. Okay, so in industry, but I have also seen many people don't follow this practice as well. Okay, so there is no rule like we have to uh, the define the pages in SRC main Java and tests in SRC test Java and features in this folder. So there is no rule actually, but as per practice, this is the best practice. Basically, when someone writes code from development perspective, they use this main folder structure. They use SRC main Java. That is why it is followed. It is mainly followed to have the pages level definitions in this particular folder. Okay, so I would say this is one of the best practices which can be followed. But I have seen many people violating also, and that will not have any problem for them when they are using it in different folders actually. But if followed, this is one of the best practices, I would say. And many will know that if you are using this way, they will know, okay, so you know how exactly development is done, because in this folder sector, you should be having only the pages. And also it is wrong to have something from test coming here, like something from execution code, like I'm having some test ng code or JUnit code coming in SRC main Java. It is wrong. So it should go to SRC test Java. Okay, so these are some of the very common things which has to be known. Okay, so if followed, it is good actually. It is good for the project, and in the long run, whoever sees it, some developer views your project. Okay, so they will also know that, okay, so these are the things followed which are common, just like how in development it is followed. Okay, so now let's come to our feature.
Srinivas, I have one question.
Yeah.
I used to use the 1.1 template. I mean, which
Mm,
used to have main Java and main test package. I mean
okay.
folder.
Mm-hmm.
So and the resource used to be the down. Okay. So
Okay.
I mean this is the default folder style, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I used to use that, and we have to create that resource folder manually there. So that should be
Mm-hmm.
fine.
Yeah, that should be fine actually. That should be fine. Uh, yeah, so but it is a very much requirement to have the resources for your SRC test as well as for SRC main. So I mean, if
Okay.
required, yeah, if required to have some resources, you can have those created. I think not an issue. Yeah.
Okay. And another thing, like
Mm.
a Gradle, I was seeing some issue with the Gradle project. Like
Okay.
if you're adding the dependency, right? So
Hmm.
sometimes it's not like for me, it's not auto downloading. Like when I project also, if I add some dependency, so the jar file is not getting downloaded automatically. So I have to go ahead and update Maven project all the time manually. So is there like in Gradle any option like that? I tried to check that I didn't see any option.
Okay. So in my case also, if you have seen, whenever I update something in build.gradle,
Uh-huh.
okay, so what I do is I come to Gradle and I say refresh Gradle project.
Okay.
Yeah,
So that's
so
the same option like update Maven, right?
yeah, so similar thing. Unlike in Maven based project wherein it automatically downloads and it will refresh your project, here it doesn't do. Uh, I have not seen any solution to this. It may be a limitation of Eclipse, I guess. Okay, so but if some other ID is used with Gradle, I think that may have the better solution because Eclipse, I think, started providing support to Gradle. I'm not sure. I mean, very recently because see these Gradle-based dependencies and all have been uh, used very recently. I think they are not the older based implementation. Older based was just importing the project, importing the libs in your project and work with it. And even Maven is bit old, but I think Gradle, I guess this is one of the support which is required from Eclipse side, not from our side. So we can't help it unless we manually refresh the Gradle project.
Okay.
Fine. So we are coming to the features, and in this we have defined, I guess, two scenarios. One was for the valid login, and other is for the invalid login. So now what we can do is, so let's say that I want to execute. So this could be specific to a scenario or specific to a feature and things like that. So we want to let's say that we want to execute a specific scenario. Then what we can do is at the top of the scenario we can define with some unique keyword, like I can call it as valid login. So this is the tag which we are using. Okay, so similarly, we can have one more tag defined to this particular scenario. So basically, by defining like this, when I'm executing my tests, I can specify the tag whichever I want to execute so that it can only filter those during the execution. So for example, if I take this valid login and in the runner, if I provide here, if I provide tags equal to and in double quotes, yeah, so I have provided this, and now if we execute our test, let's see what happens. If I check this here, so you can see basically it is executing only one scenario out of two scenario. So this way you can have the filtering applied uh, on the scenario level. Okay, and let us also try one more thing. Let me call this as a login feature. Okay, so now if I take this login and if I run only login, So if I check now what is getting executed, we can see both are getting executed. So this way you can filter only the particular feature you want to execute. You are interested in login, then provide login there at the top and use tags as login. So that way it can execute only that particular feature. So this is about filtering your execution, what all you want to execute instead of running all the time. Okay, so now next we will just see this uh, scenario outline. So let me create a new feature for that. So I'll have this feature copied just to save time. And I'll call it as okay, so this is the name, and at the top I need to define feature. I made a mistake. I need to rename with dot feature. So every time we give the feature name, we have to give it dot feature. Okay, and I will also have this feature copied. And so this is login to page, login to PHP travels, invalid login with scenario outline. Scenario login to PHP null scenario with examples. So something like that. So here actually instead of providing, okay, so since I yeah, first time I did not give the file name, I think it is not reflecting the keywords here. It should have anyway. No, let me just create a new feature file. Okay, now it's fine. So now here we can use the scenario outline option. And so if I use this, I do not require this scenario. So I'll tell you why exactly the scenario outline is required. So basically here we can give the name of the scenario. And so here I can say, okay, so yeah, so basically whenever we define scenario outline, basically what it means is, it means you want to execute all these particular steps which are defined underneath with some examples defined at the bottom. So for these things, whatever we have defined here, so we can give here called as examples. So if you see, so examples, and you can give the table kind of, so using pipe operator. So here we can give username, and here we can give password, and we can give some user, I'll say test user one, and I'll say password as test 1 2 3 4. So this is the first data which we want to use for testing. And similarly, let us say that we want to use the second data, and we say test 1 2 3. So basically the scenario outline, what it means is we want to execute underneath scenario with different examples. And when we specify like this, so this column, whatever you define, that should have been mentioned somewhere here, so that it would use that example to that particular step actually. So here we are supposed to give instead of saying user enters test user and demo user. So this is just for the parameterized test that we have seen. So I'll give some other name to this user. I'll give a different step to this. And as a user enter uh, within double quote. Okay, and when we are defining it, we have to use this angular bracket so that it would know that this is what we want to use from example. Okay, and this step is not required in this particular scenario, and this we need to define in our step definitions. Yeah, so I'll just have this copied, and here it should be user enter, right? So that is what I've defined, and here it is user enter, and then it is having username and password, so that is fine. So now let's save this. Let's come back here and save it. Yeah, it's defined already. It will be reflecting. Yeah, so basically it is pointing. So here it is important to provide this in angular bracket here like that, and this name should be matching this name. This username should be matching this username, and whatever examples column you give, that should be matching one of the step definitions so that it can basically repeat the test. So now what we expect out of this is, so when we execute it, we expect it to run n number of times depending on the examples defined here. Okay, so let's run it. So before I run, let me just, yeah, so there is no undefined steps. I can come to runner, and here I'll define one scenario name, and I'll call it as with outline. I'll copy this and I provide it here. Yeah, so you can see it is running two times because examples have two examples defined in that table underneath. So it's going to repeat with the two data. So first time it is taking username 1 and the password 1, and second time it is going to repeat with the username 2 and password 2. So that is what is about scenario outline. So in the case of scenario outline, whatever examples we define, that will be repeated for n number of steps which are defined in the entire scenario. So entire scenario will be repeated. So if this is the requirement you have, then we can use scenario outline. Okay, now let's see that in some scenarios, so this is passed, I think no issues. Yeah. So in some scenarios, what happens is you don't want your entire scenario to be executed with different data like here. So this I'll delete because this we are not using. Yeah, so this is with entire steps it is running. In some scenario, what you want is you want to only run a particular step with different data, different username and password, or different data that is provided you want to run. Okay, so in such cases, how do we do? So in such cases, we can use a data table option provided in Cucumber. So it provides two options. One is without header, and other is with header. So we will try to use that. For that, I'll create a new uh, feature so that we will understand it in a better way. And I'm going to call it as feature. And here I'll give invalid PHP invalid login with without header. I'll call it something like that. Oh, I made a mistake. So once it loads the page, we will define the steps. No, it doesn't work actually. So I'll just remove it. Because what I have realized is out of this today is if you when you're creating file, you should create with the feature. If you don't create, then it will not work. Okay, so this time I will have one of the scenario copied, and at the top I'll provide the feature. I'll say login with okay, so here now instead of using like this, so this option is also perfectly fine. Okay, but just imagine that you are executing one particular step which require more than one test data to be passed. So in this case, we are only passing like one username and one password. Then this parameterized step definition is fine that we have seen already. But if your requirement is to have more than one test data to be passed to a particular step, then we need to use data table. So in this, let me just change this and let me call it as user enters below user name and password, something like that. And underneath this, we are going to define the table. And so this I'm going to, this is without header, right? So I'm going to have the username here. I'll call it as test user one, test user, test password. So this is the username and this is the password. That is the understanding because that is what this step definition says. And I will come to the step definitions and I will just implement this step. Okay, so here I need to give user enters username password data table, I'll call it. Yeah. So, and here it is not going to take the parameters. Basically, it is going to take here the data table, right? So we have to give the data table option. So data table is one of the data type in Cucumber. So we can use that data table, and so we have to just provide that here. And after that is given, I'll just give it with DT or DT as a reference variable. And then here we are going to basically define the code for that. So basically this dt is can be converted to a list by using this as list option. Similarly, it can be converted to a map by using as maps option. So we will use as list option so that it can return a list to us. So I can store this in a list. So list is a Java based data type that we already know. So by using this list, now we can basically use this list dot get. And if you say get of 0, that means it is going to get the first column values. And if you say get of 1, it is going to get the second column value. So now if I, since I need to enter username here, I can say get of 0. And since I need to get the second column here, I'll say get of 1. So that's it. And now with this, for the same step, in a different way, we have implemented using the data table without header. Okay, so now we can see that it is going to take this username and this password when we execute our test. So let's run it once. So just to tell you one of the again best practices followed, uh, I have seen in projects they will have uh, unique tag name defined to every scenario, so that anytime you want to execute a particular scenario, they will have this tag name used for executing that. So you can have some naming conventions followed, like uh, from which user story it is coming from. You can give the user story number. You can give from which group it is coming. Is it login, or what is the feature name? Is it a login, or is it a logout, or is it a some other add to cart functionality. So depending on that, you can have some naming convention set to the tag name, so that that tag name, whenever somebody looks at that tag name, they can understand, okay, this particular scenario is coming from that particular group or things like that. So I will have this header defined here, this tag name, and I'll use this tag name while executing now. So this time when it is executing, we expect it to enter that test user1 and test password. So that is the expectation. Yeah, it is entering test user1 and test password. So it is fine. So that is without header. And just to show, in this case, let us say that we want to execute with different data. So I'll just provide here test user2 and test password 2. So now when we execute it, what we expect to happen is, for this step, we want it to data drive. And for rest of the steps, we don't want it to repeat. So only for this step, it is going to repeat. Okay, so that is what is with the data table compared to the scenario outline. In scenario outline, it repeats for the entire scenario, whereas here it is only going to repeat for the particular step. So now if we say run this, then we would see that it is going to run only for that particular step multiple times with different data. However, it may not make sense with respect to the current scenario, but in some test cases, it would definitely make sense. Okay, so but this is just for the illustration purpose. I have done that. So now we can see that it entered only one. Yeah, it entered only one because the logic that is defined is not correct here. So here it is. So here it is getting the list, and I'm saying list dot get and things like that. Okay, so since we are getting multiple rows, right? So it is going to get some additional values also. So if I say like this, it is going to get the first value. So if I say list dot get of 0 and list dot get of 1, it is going to get the first value anyway. So now instead of doing like this, so since I know that it is going to get multiple values, so I will have, instead of defining in list string format, I'll define in list of string format. So that is two dimension kind of. So I've defined it like this, and here I'm going to give, yeah. So and for this I can use for loop. Yeah, I'll use for loop for simplicity. And here I'm going to say get of I dot get of 0, and here I'm going to say get of I dot get of 0, get of 1. So first we will execute and then we will discuss this code. Okay, what happened? Okay, so cannot convert data table to list. Okay, so let's go back to this. So List of string, that is fine. Go to dt dot as list. Oh, I made a mistake here. So whenever it is returning multiple rows, I need to specify as lists. Okay, so that was a mistake. Yeah, I think now it looks fine. So let's run it. So we have to use as list only when it is returning a single row, and we have to use as lists whenever it is returning multiple rows. So now let's see. Yeah, so first time it enters test user one, test user test password, and second time it entered test user two and password. So now let's come back to this code and we'll just discuss one more time. So basically we have to use dt.asLists whenever you are expecting multiple rows, and then it is going to return list of string, list of string, list of string. So basically list within a list. So to work with this, we have to use for loop. There is no other way. So we can either use for normal loop or for an enhanced loop. So for normal loop, basically is helping us get the first. When you say get of I, it is going to get the first row like this. So it is going to get this first row. And when you say when I is incremented, it is going to get the second row. And from that particular row, when we want to get the first column, we say 0, and we want to get second column, we say of 1. So that is the logic here. Okay, so same thing, we'll just see this in the case of by using enhanced loop. So enhanced loop is, yeah, so we'll have list of string. One second. Yeah. So basically, here what we are doing is, here we are saying I want to iterate through this particular list, which is defined here. And what is the return type of that list is going to be, it is going to return a single list. So we'll get the single list here. And by using this list, we are going to say, I want to get the first item, or I want to get the second item. So this way also it will work. See what is the error here. Li cannot be resolved. Oh, okay. So since it is a for loop, I need to give the open brace and close brace. Okay. Fine. So now let's run the script again. So this was just to see how we can use this for the enhanced loop. Okay. So there is no change to the implement execution. Only the change was with respect to the code, how it is written. So that is about without header. So now I hope you have understood how we can use this data table without header, where it can be used. Like we have seen this example here, like when we say that we want to enter some data which is given below, then we can use the without header kind of. And this without header is useful when you have one column or two columns. But suppose you have five column or 10 columns, then it will be very confusing what data will be used for what, right? So in such cases, we have to use with header. So let us take one more scenario here. Okay, so for with header, we'll just discuss which scenario we can use. So if I come to this login and let us try to log in once. Okay, so after this, let's say that, no, let me log out, sorry. Yeah, so in this, if we say sign up, okay, so then it displays multiple columns, right? Like first name, last name, mobile number, email. Let's say that your requirement is to sign up for a user. So we have one, two, three, four, five, 6 columns to be entered. So in such cases, it does not make sense to define using without header, because it will confuse someone who is reading this feature file. They will get confused what data is used for which column, right? They will get confused with that. So we have to provide with header. So in such cases, how we can use uh, data driven using Cucumber with the column header. So we'll have that defined. So I'll have a scenario created for that. So I'm going to give it as sign up with header. Okay, so next, yeah, so this feature name make it generalized with and without header, because one is having with header and one is having without header. So user is already in a login page. Let's go to that first. Let's see. Yeah, user is in a login page. No, we don't want to log in, right? So we want to click on sign up. So user is in a already on sign up page. So that will be my step. Okay. So in fact, we can use that same feature step, same step which you are defined for login. User is on login page, and we can have it work for both login as well as for sign up. So we can see how we can do that. So here, instead of defining it as a login, so I'll make it as a parameterized one. So we know how to make it as parameterized. I'll copy this string here and I'll give it here. Okay, and after that is given. Now here init driver, so initialization, and then it is my account drop down and click on login. So this is in the case of uh, login. So string, I'll call it as okay. So here I'm going to say if this param is equals login. So then I want to basically work on the login, right? So it is going to click on the login link. And similarly, if I say if, yeah, better I'll give else if this is equal to sign up, then I want it to basically do the sign up. So this way, using a single step, we are basically making it to work for the multiple implementation. So now here we have to just provide main page dot. We want to click on the sign up page. So for the sign up page, we have to go to the main page again, and we have to define the object here related to the sign up, and then we need to call that. So sign up is having this sign up text. Okay, and we want to click on that. So I'm going to define the method. Fine. So we have defined the page level method, and now we are going to just call that here. Click sign up link, and with that, we have completed the implementation for the step. And now we come back to the feature. And here we need to change it to here login. So this should be in double quotes, and similarly here it should be in double quotes. Okay. Yeah. So now with that, now when user is on the sign up page, now what else we want to do? So after user is on the sign up page, we want to enter all these steps. So I'll define the next step. And when the title is, what is the title of this is register, and the title of login page is login currently. So even this can be generalized so that this step will work as well. So as of now, I don't want to do it. So I will say user enter, user provide, user provides sign up information. So here we are going to define with column. So let me define some of the column and also the values. So the column is going to be first name, last name, mobile number, email, password, and confirm password. And here we have to give the name. So I'll call it as name one, user one, uh, sign up. Let that be the first name, and last name is user one, and mobile number, email, password, something like this, and I'll have it repeated. I hope this will work. So to confirm whether it works or not, I can test it here. So I'll just test sign up 10. Okay, it works. So now, so for this step, we want to implement. So I'm coming back to the step definition, and yeah. So I'll select one of the data table one which you already written. So I'll take that, and I will have it defined here. And in this, I'll copy this, and I'll paste it here. Okay. So now here, yeah, it's the user. Okay, and again here it is going to be data table. Okay, so because that is a data table, right? So we want to work with that data table which is defined, but it has a header as well. So whenever it is having header, we can use, instead of using as lists, we can use as maps. Okay, and when we say like that, so what it returns? It returns a list of map of string comma string. So it is going to be list of map of string comma string. So I'll have this imported. Yeah, so now we are going to use this, yeah, list again, basically to iterate through, or if you have a single column, then we can directly use as well. So since it is having single row value, so I can directly use, I don't need this for loop. So I can use, yeah, so I need some objects for the uh, sign up, right? So let me just have those objects captured first. Yeah, so I need to be getting this. Let me just come back to the, yeah, we have here login page, main page, I will define sign up page like that similarly. Yeah, and as per the current implementation, it is extending with base page. And if we just see this, so it is having these things. So let me just copy these to save time. And here it is going to be first name. Okay, so for the first name text box, it is having name equal to first name. And now we need for the last name text box. For the last name text box, it is having name equal to last name. And similarly, I will have this copied here. So next we have mobile number text box. And for the mobile number text box, it is having name equal to phone. Yeah, okay, then why it is showing error here? Okay, so next I'm going to take the email. For the email, it is having name equal to email, and this is going to be email text box. Okay, so we have got till email. Now we need to get the confirm password and password. So I'll have this named as password. Confirm password. For password, it is name equal to password. And for confirm password, it is going to be name equal to confirm password. Yeah, so once this is done, next we need sign up button. So for the sign up button, if I check, it is a button with type equal to submit. So let me provide that button. I believe it has text as well. Yeah, so let me just use this way. Text equal to sign up. So let me try whether this works fine. Okay, it works. Yeah, I think this is not required. And I just need to have those methods, respective methods created as well. So first thing is this initialization, and then I'll have this method. Sign up page. Then enter first name. So it is going to be first name, first name. So similarly, enter last name. Okay, so after we have defined first name and last name, now next we need for the mobile number and email. Yeah, so after uh, done with this, now next we need for the password and confirm password. Okay, and finally we need to click on the sign up button. Okay, so with that, our page object is ready, and now we are coming back here. And here, first thing is we are supposed to create the object. So here the object is created with respect to login page. So similarly, I will create object with respect to sign up page. Okay, so now we have the object ready. Now using this object, we should be able to enter the data. Yeah, so after clicking on that particular option, so now we are going to enter. So first thing is enter first name. Next is going to be enter last name. Let me just check sign up page. Enter first name, enter last name, right? It should be sign up page. Okay, so then after this, enter mobile number, enter password, enter email, then enter password and confirm password. Yeah, so now to get all these values, we are going to use this list. And using this list, we are going to say dot get. And then basically we need to provide here get of 0. Okay, so why we are saying is get of 0 is, let me just go back here. Yeah, so get of 0 is the first row. Okay, so first row. So get of 0, and then we need to say dot get, and here we are going to say get of, we have to give the column name. So the column name is first name, which from which we want to fetch the user first name. So get of first name, and yeah, so yeah, so that's all with respect to getting this. Okay, now similarly, if you want to get for this one, we have to use the same code, and this is going to be the same, no change. This row is same, no change, only this column will change. So the column in this case is last name. And I'll just repeat this with other other fields. So we need to provide the respective column names for the mobile number, email, password, and confirm password. Password and confirm password. Okay, so with that, I think so this implementation is complete. User provides the sign up information. After providing sign up information, we are supposed to click on the sign up button. So I'll have that step defined here. User clicks on sign up button. So even it can be done combined. We have done that before, right? So so we can use parameterized for that. So user, as of now, I'm not doing. So I'll say user clicks on sign up separately button, and this is going to be sign up page dot. We are going to call that click sign up button. So this step I'm going to copy and I'm going to provide here. After doing this, user clicks on sign up button. Yeah, and if required, we can add additional steps to like basically to verify if you want to verify whether sign up is successful. So those things can be added. As of now, I'm not doing. Okay, so now with this, we have completed the implementation for the data table with header. So in the case of header, if you compare this with the without header, what is the difference? So in the case of without header, we were using as a list or as lists, and that was a list of list it was returning. So we were using for loop for that because it was having multiple rows. And in this case, only difference is it returns as maps, and it is going to return list map of string comma string. And if it has only one row, then we can use list of get of 0 and then get and provide the column name. Okay, and if it has multiple rows, then we need to use for loop just like earlier, and then iterate like using for int id like that. And here instead of I, we need to 0, we need to pass I here. That's all. Okay, so now with this, if we run our test, let's see. So sign up with header, I'll take this. I'll provide this in the tag and I will execute it. So it was successful. So this is with respect to the data driven options in Cucumber. So you have any questions about these? You can ask now. Okay, so if not, we will move on to the next topic, which is available.
Yep. Srinivas, what is the best practice? Means by using multiple feature file, or we can by using this tag, we can use one single file for multiple scenarios. What is the best practice?
Okay, so best practice is depending on your test case, right? Depending on your test case and features that are available in the project. So you can create multiple features actually. So there is no harm creating multiple features. Okay, so and name your features according to the functionality that you're testing and define the scenarios inside the feature files accordingly. So this scenario name that we define right here. So this scenario name either should have reference to the test case that you're writing in your project, like some test case number or some reference number, and also some description what exactly is this test doing, and also appropriate feature or group from where it is coming from. So that will make sense, and also it will help maintain going forward very easily because so you may have a lot of features if you're working on a large project, then you will have a lot of features. So I mean, a lot of functionality to test. So in such case, it does not make sense to have a single feature testing all the scenarios. definitely have multiple features, divide it into various groups, like how you want to be testing usually, right? Have that different group maintained. Like for example, here we have maintained for invalid login separated. Okay, so valid login separated, and so like that you can have different groups. Even you can have different folders created under features. Okay, like you can call it as smoke group, or you can call it as regression group, you can call it as functionality group, API testing group, database testing group, like that. You can have that group created, so that will really help. So this is what I want to say. When it is, as the project grows, it is going to be complex. So having it separated will really help with proper naming convention. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Any other questions?
And in runner file, can we define multiple tag?
Uh, yeah, actually, there is one more option I can show you. In runner, we can only provide a single tag. We can't provide multiple tags. Okay. So, yeah, it says we can provide like this. So we can try that also. So, ideally, it should allow you to provide within this double quotes. So whatever you want to execute, you can provide. And as per Cucumber documentation, what they say is we can use like if you see this here, right? You can use and operator. You can use basically logical operators like and, or, not, and things like that. So for example, if I say not here, so what that means is I don't want to execute this scenario, but I want to execute all the other scenarios apart from this. So now if I say run as and JUnit test, then you can see that it is executing all the scenarios except apart from that scenario, right? So that is the usage. So similarly, you can explore using this option, like I've just showed you not. So you can explore using and operator as well. Like if you say and, if you provide one more tag here, then it is expected to have the and of those two. It is going to have and. Similarly, if you say or, it is going to have or. So based on that result, it is going to execute your test. Okay, so that can be tried out. Okay, so just to tell you from project, when we are executing in the project, right? So there is one more way to execute that I'll tell you later on. So this, as of now, I think having one tag execution may be okay. Like for your current, if you're debugging current script and you're checking how it is working. So in such cases, usually you will have one tag defined. Okay, but if your requirement is to have multiple tags combined at runtime, I will show you that later how we can do that. But as of now, currently I don't recommend using multiple tag options here. Okay, because it would suffice. Your requirement would be very simple here. Whenever we are using this runner, right, our requirement will be to run a specific feature or a specific scenario, and we don't want to complicate things. So but at the project level, right, so when you are thinking of executing your entire project and maybe considering all the features defined and maybe applying filter on top of that, for that there is a different option available which we will discuss later on, little later. So as of now, I think this should be enough. And also I've told about using not and operator or any logical operator that can be used in tag, which will uh, help you run multiple tag options and things like that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Okay, so I think next we have some more topics to discuss. So we will be resuming other topics tomorrow. Okay, so my suggestion to you is do complete the assignment if you could not, and if you are facing any issues, you can let me know. However, who have submitted already, I'll be reviewing and I'll let you know, because that will be the additional, I mean, confirmation that whatever we have discussed so far, you have practiced and you have reached to that level. So to get that, it is required. And also that will not stop you from only restricting yourself to that level. You can practice whatever we have been discussing, and can try out something new. If you're getting stuck, if you're getting problems, let me know. We can discuss tomorrow, and we'll resume and we'll discuss other topics as well. Okay, so thank you everyone. For today, we are closing and we'll resume tomorrow.
Thanks, Sunil.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Srinivas.